Welcome to the latest edition of the Hudson County Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Haig, and with me tonight is a very, very special guest. But before that, we just got to remember that tonight's sports podcast, like every others, is brought to you by Stan Sports Center, a full-service sporting goods vendor and authorized team dealer located at 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. The telephone number there is 201-798-4466. And with me tonight is a very, very special guest, one of the best basketball players to ever come out of Jersey City. He was part of, and it's still part of history, he was part of the first ever Jersey City public school team to win a state championship back in 1990 with the Snyder Tigers. And he was first team All-County that year. And then he went on from playing in junior college, in Hutchinson Junior College, very good junior college, and then ended up his career playing for Gene Katie at Purdue, and then had a long professional career. And it's my friend Roy Pooh Hairston. Let's try that again. Roy Pooh Hairston. And Pooh, how are you doing?
Hey man, doing great, man. Just trying to stay safe in these times that we're dealing with right now. So everything is good, man. No complaints at all.
Glad to hear. Okay, let's turn the clock back. I guess, well, you're not 50 yet, right? So you must be...
No. 47.
You're getting there. All right, so let's turn the clock back, say about 44 years. And what street was it that you grew up in Jersey City? And when were you first introduced to sports?
I grew up on Bayview Avenue, Bayview and Martin Luther King. And I was first introduced to sports as a baseball player because after the passing of my dad, I went to live in Virginia with my grandmother and my cousins and my uncles. They all were multi-sport players, but baseball was their main sport.
Wow. So how old were you when you moved to Virginia?
I moved to Virginia at about 7 years old. I stayed down there for maybe about 2 years.
Okay.
I returned back to Jersey City. And then, being in Virginia, basketball wasn't like it was, up north in Jersey City.
No. What town was it in Virginia that you lived in?
Danville, Virginia.
Okay. Where was the closest big city to that?
The biggest closest probably, I would say Richmond.
Okay. All right. So
Richmond and
so probably that was an area that was more in tune with probably football and baseball, not so much basketball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
And then, transitioning back to Jersey, it was strictly basketball. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it wasn't too much softball, baseball, anything like that. It was mainly basketball, and that's where.
Oh, you didn't play football with the Greenville Tigers or the Bergen Colts?
I think it was the Greenville Tigers because the guy who ran it used to live on Wilkerson Avenue. So I played a season, but football wasn't my thing.
Okay.
So I played because it was a neighborhood thing, but basketball was my passion. So I was saying about 10 years old is really when I really started to really like pick it up seriously and just focus, totally on basketball. So basketball was always my passion, my love. I just did, baseball because it was that was the only thing going in Virginia. And
Right.
football because it was a neighborhood thing. A lot of the kids, a lot of my friends were playing, so I dabbled in it, but it really wasn't my thing.
Okay. So basketball then, when you were like say 10 years old, and you're gone. I lost you.
So that's where being in the city, I started playing in front of my building. It was phone booths, and I used to shoot between the two phone booths. and then, I started shooting on fire escapes. And then eventually that led me to, playing, middle school basketball at 41. Then that led to doing stuff in the summertime and playing in the different leagues down Bayside Park, Audubon Park.
Well, you could crawl to Audubon Park from living where you lived on Bayview. That was
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
But that was usually it was dominated by the big kids. You couldn't have played then when you were 10, right?
Right. So the older guys used to send us to the monkey bars to play.
Right.
So we sent us to the monkey bars, and the only way you played on the main court is if you got there early, and it was only 10 guys. You know what I'm saying? But once everybody started to fill in, I didn't get picked to play. I was sent to the monkey bars and things like that. But I kept coming back.
Okay.
Because I kept coming back, and then those older guys started to respect that. And then you run into people like Shelby Gibbs. You run into Raphael Addisons. You run into the Steve Frazers, the Eric Flash Gordons. You run into so many people that took me under their wing and saw that I had a passion and a love for the game. And then they started to teach you little things. Then they started taking places with them.
Okay.
I remember being 13 years old, going to play in Newark for Shelby.
Okay.
They grown mid leagues, you know what I'm saying? I'd get my butt kicked, but they knew I wasn't going to back down, and they saw something in me that made them want to nurture me and as a person and as a player to keep me out of trouble. So.
All right. And how tall were you then, though, Pooh? You weren't that tall yet, right? You had a growth spurt when you were in high school. Am I wrong?
My growth spurt happened between my sophomore and junior year.
That's what I thought. Yeah. All right.
So I ended up growing like about 4 to 5 inches.
From junior to senior year? I mean, from sophomore to junior year. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yep.
Because no one knew who you were at all when you were a sophomore. I didn't even know whether or not you played JV. Nobody knew who you were. And then all of a sudden, boom, as a junior, Artie Rubin was telling me, "Oh, you got to watch this kid play. He's smooth."
It's like my sophomore year. I think it was maybe the 4th game of the season. We played Week Queen at home, and they had a zone. We just couldn't score. We could not score. Mr. Rubin inserts me. I hit 5 threes.
Really?
I hit 5 threes, and since after that Week Queen game, I was never out of the starting lineup as a sophomore. And obviously, everybody was gravitating towards Rakim because he had started as a freshman.
Right. But he was a man, like he was.
He was so physically strong as a freshman, man, it just wasn't fair.
Right. He really was. We're talking about Rakim Burgess. Rakim Burgess.
I was skilled enough. I just wasn't physically ready enough. You know what I mean? But
and then you had to grow into your body, though, Pooh, didn't you?
Right.
I mean, you were 6'1", and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're 6'7", and you had to go from being, like, say, I don't know, were you playing the 3 then? Or when you were 6'1"? Or, did you have to learn a new position,
I was playing a point. So
wow, okay.
Playing a point. But everything else came natural as I grew. Now, granted, I wasn't strong enough to play varsity, but I always felt I was skilled enough, right? And I could shoot the basketball. So once everything started to come around my junior year, that's when it all started to click, and the confidence started to catch up. And I was like, well, I'm just as good as anybody around here. And I started to go to the camps, and I started to feel that way, going to Eastern Invitational, going to 5 stars and things like that, playing against different people. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm just as good as anybody, and the confidence is soaring.
And correct me if I'm wrong. When you went to 5-star between your junior and senior year, that's when you exploded. Like you were like, oh my God, everybody had to watch you. Like you were really, you were deadly.
Now my junior year, I had a chance to experience the Grant Hills, the Brian Reeses,
yep,
all those nationally ranked players. And I'm thinking like, man, I could be just as good as those guys. And coming back from that camp, I was able to build on it. Now going into my junior year, I felt as though, okay, I knew Rakim was going to get the ball, but I had to find my niche, and my niche was to stretch the floor, right? Get it off the glass and go. And Ruben saw that, and Ruben was harder on me than he was Rakim, to be honest with you.
Of course.
My mom would tell you, like, I told my mother I quit, and my mother was like, well, guess what? You quit, where are you going to live and where are you going to eat?
Okay.
Mr. Ruben, and she told and my mother told Mr. Ruben, don't worry about it, in practice tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ruben was great, man. He allowed me to play my game, play free, and he knew I was a perfect complement, to Rakim. And I wasn't a street kid, even though I grew up in a rough neighborhood. I wasn't a street kid, and
you were the anti-street kid on that team. Well, you and Alan Cole were the 2 anti-street kids. The rest of the team we can't say.
Yeah, we had Shelby Gibbs was on staff, and he played Division I basketball.
Right.
I used to pick his brain, like, and he said, you're not strong enough, you're not tough enough. And I used to pick his brain out there, and we were both similar in the style of play that we played. Thin frame, but highly skilled. So he was perfect for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I had Steve Frazier, who came through a couple of years before, who was, you need to handle the basketball, be a point guard. So, I always have good people around me encouraging me, to be better and to stay out the streets. And my brother, I can't thank him enough because my mom worked late hours. He would make sure my homework was done. He would make sure I'm in the house and, all those type of things. So,
how much older was your brother, and what was his first name? What's his first name?
My brother's name is Hairston.
Darryl.
He's about 7 years older than I am.
Okay.
So, he kept me out of, he helped tremendously. He was that father figure that I didn't have. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
He looked out for me tremendously, man. Like I say, man, during that era, growing up in Audubon Park, those guys were great. And then,
there was no better basketball anywhere than Audubon Park. None better. Nope.
Right, and then get better. Now you come into the park, they want to pick you first, and we're waiting on Pooh to get here and stuff like that. And then just playing in the summer leagues in Audubon Park, then going to Hoboken and playing at Hoboken, going to Bayonne.
Yep.
Then going to the Cage on West Fork. So it still something in me that, hey, this is really what I want. Then I started to get recruited. Then you start getting elected from Georgetown and St. John's and all these places. Now you're really like, okay, now I really got to really figure this out, stay grounded, stay out of trouble, and continue to do what you're doing. But I had a great support system.
Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about how did you get the nickname of Pooh? Where did that come from?
Actually, I was a chubby baby. My mother said, and she said I just looked like a Pooh. So.
So you look like Winnie the Pooh when you were a chubby baby?
Yeah, I was a chubby baby. So my mom just named me Pooh, and it just stuck. And
See, and it's probably the type of thing now in Indianapolis, you're a Roy, but when you come back home, people call you Pooh, you're back in Jersey City, right?
Right, and then now with the advent of Google and stuff like that, and you meet different people, and they be, oh, I didn't know you were a Pooh. And I started to think like, okay, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that, but everybody back home, still call me Pooh.
Right. They don't know you any other way. They didn't even know what your real first name was. Luckily every article I wrote about you, I made sure you were Roy and in quotation marks Pooh Hairston. I had to make sure. Now the same type of thing. I had Michael Corrin as a guest on the podcast a couple of months ago, and I started it by saying, "How you doing, little?" And he goes, that's the same type of thing. When I hear that means somebody from Jersey City's calling it out for me. When I hear somebody, hey, little, I know it's somebody from Jersey City. So you must feel the same way when people call you Pooh.
Same exact way. You look, you see if there's anybody from Jersey City that they call it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was great, man. Like I said, that night seems phenomenal. And what people don't realize, and I tell people this all the time when we talk about it, is that our practices were tougher than games.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, you had the Walker brothers, you had Thorpe,
yep.
Jerome Thorpe, you had Calvin Hawkins, you had Willie Evans, Virginia Amateur, Joe Felder. I mean, we were literally 10 to 12 deep. So
and you had 3 Division I players on your team. You had Rakeem Burgess, who was getting recruited all over the place, and unfortunately he never got a chance because he fell afoul of the law. But yourself and Alan Cole. So you had 3 guys on your team that were Division I players. When in the world has that ever happened in Jersey City Public Schools? Never. No. So that's.
Right. It was like the perfect storm, and the thing that can't be remiss about it, the Snyder pride around school. I honestly think attendance went up that year in Snyder because you were looking like you'll look in class, maybe everybody in there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you go play at Dickinson. It's packed with Snyder players. I mean with fans. I
Yep.
don't even think we had a fan bus.
Yep.
That never happened. Right?
Hey, when you played in Piscataway in the Tournament of Champions, that place was rocking with Jersey City people. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But that place was rocking with Jersey City people.
Playing Mavericks, there were people on the annex on that little ledge looking in the window.
Yeah.
Like the fan turnout, the support that we got from teachers, we got from the student body.
Yep.
It was phenomenal. I'm friends with a lot of people that went to high school with me, and we still talk about that run that we had. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
It was phenomenal.
All right, so but before we go ahead of that, let's talk a little bit about your junior year, which I think really helped you guys to get to where you were as seniors, because the junior team, I don't even remember if there was a senior on that team when you were juniors that played, but you were all pretty much juniors, and you learned your lessons well, because by the time you were seniors, you guys were unbeatable. But you had a good junior year too. You went to the county playoffs, and I forgot who you lost to, but
yeah, my junior year we beat Mavericks.
Right.
For the county championship.
Oh, you won the county championship.
Yeah, my junior year we won.
Okay.
My junior team was it was a good balance. We had quite a few seniors, but only one started. I think Mark Walker was the only one that started after senior. Who was I think he was the glue. You know what I mean? He did all the dirty work, all the rebounding.
So wait a minute. So you were a junior on the team that won the state championship?
Yeah, I was a junior.
Oh, okay. See, I'm losing track. So because I know Mark Walker was a senior when they won it in 1990. So you were a junior. Okay.
Yeah.
But that was an incredible team. Rakeem was first team All County. You were first team All County. That was, he averaged about 20 a game. You averaged about 17 or 18. And then you had Alan Cole, who was second team All County. He averaged about 12 a game. And you had Mark Walker, who he did all the dirty work. And then if you remember in the state playoffs, he got an elbow above the eye again. I think that was against Ramapo.
No, that was against Malcolm X Shabazz.
Oh, it was Malcolm X Shabazz, where he got the elbow in the eye and he couldn't, with the blood closing up his eye, and he still ended up playing.
Yeah, that was the sectional championship.
Yeah, that was the sectional championship game. Okay, man.
Yep, that was the sectional championship. They got all the fans out, and then they did a big.
And that game was at Bloomfield High School?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That game, and Daryl Tuck, who was on Malcolm X Shabazz, he and I are good friends. And we talk about it, but they made a mistake. They cleared, if he wasn't family, they cleared everybody out.
Everybody out, right.
And what they did, they made a mistake. They put our cheerleaders behind their bench. And Snyder being Snyder, one of our cheerleaders, mainstay player. And
oh, you're kidding, really?
He come running on the court screaming. Everybody looking like, what happened? So he stopped the game again.
Oh, my God.
And then, we went on a phenomenal run after that. But I think we ended up beating them pretty good.
Right.
Rakeem, I think, and this is one of the games where, Rakeem and I were clicking. I think both of us, man, scored close to 30 that game.
Absolutely. Both you. I think he had 33. You had 29. I'm pretty damn sure those are the numbers. Yeah.
It was close.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of the best games he and I, had.
Right.
And they had Eric Williams on that team.
Yeah, he played in the NBA for a long, long time. Yeah.
Yep. Eric and I are pretty cool too. We see him, it's much respect. We talk about that game, also. You know what I mean? I felt as though whoever won that game was going to win the state. It wouldn't even be close.
Right.
Whoever won that game was going to win state.
Right. And it turned out to be, it did. You won the Group 3. But talk a little bit about the battles that you had inside Hudson County that year. Were just, every single team was good. Marist was good. Dickinson was good. Ferris was Ferris. You didn't play St. Anthony's because they already had left the county. Bayonne was good. Every single game that you played, Hoboken was excellent. Hoboken had, they had 3 kids that ended up going to Division I. Alston, right?
The other guy, Carlos something. I can't think of his last name.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, the county was loaded.
Loaded.
The county was loaded. And it
So how tough did you have to be, Pooh, to play that schedule game after game after game, where every game was a war? You had no walkovers. You had to worry about every single game that you had. How tough was that?
Right. It was real tough because I think, with our team, I'm not sure if people were picking us or anything like that. Because granted, the marquee player was Raheem. Everybody all they got is Raheem.
Right.
And I burst on the scene. Allen burst on the scene. Mark doing what he's supposed to do. And now we are forced to be reckoned with. You know what I'm saying? So now everybody has to deal with us. We had Barracks, who had 3 or 4 Division I players on 18.
Yep.
They had Roscoe Harris, God bless him. And they had the
Danielle Marshall. Not Danielle Marshall. Danielle Williams, who was a young kid at that time. Jerome Marshall. That's it. No, Jamal Marshall. Jamal Marshall.
So they were
loaded. And you beat them in the county finals.
We beat them in the county championship.
Right.
So you had to bring it.
Yep.
You had to.
Every single night, right? Every night.
Yeah. And I just think, we worked hard and we were talented. So, that's hard to beat. You got a team that's worked hard and talented and connected all on one accord. You know what I mean? That's hard to beat, man. So.
All right, and how about the camaraderie that you guys had? And do you think that helped a little bit too? That you guys liked each other so much, and you played hard for each other. There wasn't like, say, for instance, you and Rock didn't have like that star mentality, even though you were the stars. And the other guys all played hard and it filled their roles. Like Amica played hard and was a good point guard, played his role. Cole obviously played his role. So, I mean, do you think that helped a tremendous amount in the fact that you guys all got along and knew each other's roles?
Yep. And the thing is, you got to look at it like this. We didn't get in each other's way.
Okay.
On the basketball court, right? Rock was going to enter the paint. I was going to slash and shoot. Allen was going to shoot. Kenny Amica was going to play defense. And Willie Haslam was going to control everything.
Yep.
Right? So we didn't get in each other's way. Then you had Mark Walker who was going to do all the dirty work. So we didn't get in each other's way. I can open it up for Raheem, and Raheem can open it up for me.
Yep.
If he go to work, they got to double. They got to keep an eye on him. And that allowed Allen and myself to shoot threes, right? And Will and those guys are going to do a good job of getting us the ball, and Mark was going to rebound. Everything going to be last, right? So it was one of those deals where we didn't get in each other's way. And I knew Raheem was going to be the first option. However, I knew if he had an off night, I could get it going too.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of team that we had, and we generally like each other. You see us in class, you see us, whenever we want somewhere to win, there was always another one. Like our team used to come to my house and eat or something.
Okay.
Or if someone didn't have money, we always made sure the next person had something to eat for lunch.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And we kept each other out of trouble. So it was something that it wasn't something that was planned. It just happened organically. You know what I mean?
Yep. All right, and how much did you have a really good coaching staff that all worked well together and they also knew their roles too? And you had Artie Rubin, and you had Flavio Urbano, and you had Shelton. I mean, that was a good group of guys that knew how to handle you guys as well as possible. And tell me, talk a little bit about how good of a coach Artie Rubin was.
He was really, really good, for us, right? And the simple fact that, I felt that he was harder on me, but that's fine. And he knew he coached us differently, right? He coached Raheem the way he needed to be coached. He coached me the way he thought I needed to be coached. He was a good manager of that, right? And it allowed us to be ourselves. And Fabiano was the guy he was more like the guy behind the scenes that was putting together the scouting reports, the skill development along with Sheldon. And Sheldon was the gatekeeper.
Right.
Sheldon was the gatekeeper because, Sheldon got that fiery attitude. And
yep.
You get out of line with Sheldon. Sheldon beat you up, right? Yep. So,
and all you guys respected Shelton so much because he was not that much older than you, but you all knew him, right? So,
Shelton was in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Shelton was like a role model to me because he took me on his wing, take me different places and things like that. I tell him all the time. I was like, I was your first son. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? big, man. Shell was huge.
Yep.
In what we did, man. And just like I said, this is a perfect storm, man. You know, it's just one of those deals. And you know, the support that we had from the school, and then you know, just the run that we went on, man. It was like, whoa.
Well, you did. I think you won. I think you won your last 13 games. If I correct me if I'm wrong, until you got to the TSC. So you won 13 straight. You won 4 right before the end of the regular season. Then you won the county playoffs, and that wasn't easy because that was the first year they went to 8 teams. So you had to win. So you had to win 3 games to win the county. Then you went to the states, and you had to win 4 games there to get to out of group your sectional. You won the sectional, and then you had to go play for the Group 3 championship down at Rutgers, right?
Down at Rutgers, yep.
And who did you play? Who did you play in the Group 3 championship game? Do you remember?
I don't even know, but I know we ended up playing tournament of champs. I forget who we played, man. No, maybe. What was it? I can't remember.
Okay.
All right. But I know we ended up playing Pagoda, who had Pat Sullivan at the time.
Right, and you beat them.
We beat them.
Right.
And then we had to play Elizabeth.
And Elizabeth was loaded, right?
Luther was the difference, right?
You think he was? Really? Okay.
Absolutely. He's so big, right?
See, and I remember Alcides Catano was the guy who killed you. He was, you know, and they had the little guard Mike Brennan who first went to prep and transferred from prep and ended up going to Elizabeth, and he killed you too, the 2 of you. So.
They had about 5 positions players from that team.
Yeah, they had a lot.
And along with Luther, yeah, but you know, hats off to them.
They had PJ Watkins who ended up going to Maine.
They had a guard, Lawrence Thomas, who ended up going to UNLV.
Right.
Right. So if you look back at the tournament of champions, right, look at the Final Four. 2 teams from the Hudson County sitting there.
Which is unbelievable. It never happened before, and you both of you represented Jersey City so very well.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And I tell people all the time. I talk to Jermaine Womack, who's a good friend of mine from St. Anthony.
Yep.
You know, like little old Hudson County. Forget Jersey City, right? Hudson County. You had 2 teams in the tournament of champions.
Right.
And we talk about it all the time. You know, if Jersey City was like Hoboken or Bayonne, then we have 1 high school.
How good Jersey City would be? Oh God! Oh God!
Like how many national championships?
Yeah.
Overall national championships that Jersey City have won.
Back in the 80s and 90s, oh, it would have been forever. It would have been forever. Like if there was only 1 school, like Atlantic City had only 1 school. You know, like you know Elizabeth with that many people only had 1 school. You know, so you know Jersey City had 5 when you consider McNair. So that's and then all the parochial schools. So it was tough.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know it was loaded, man. And then you know looking back, you know it's just one of those things where you know like my mom sent me a clip or something like that. You're like, oh, I remember that game. But then you know it's just one of those memorable times, man. That I'm just happy and blessed to be a part of that I had that experience. You know what I'm saying? So
well,
it's been great, man.
It's definitely I might get some calls about this, but because that Snyder team that had Ralph Addison and Booby Richardson and Shelton Gibbs was pretty damn good too, but they didn't achieve like you guys did. You won the overall state championship. The first ever in the history of Jersey City, first public school to ever win in Jersey City. You won the county championship, you won the state, you went to the TSC, and you won a game in the TSC. And you ended up 28-4, which is just, nobody's ever going to match that record. No one. 28 wins.
The funny thing is, I'll put out a team picture up on Facebook, the best team in the history of Snyder. And you should see it on Facebook. It goes crazy.
Right.
Every time that I put it on there, right? And this is crazy how history repeats itself, right? This is crazy. If you look at that team, Bowie, Rakim, right?
Same type of player, right?
Right. Dean, Raphael.
Yep. Same type of people.
Allen and Shelton.
Yes. Thing very, 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 very similar. There's no question. Very similar.
Right?
Although I hate to say it, God rest his soul, but Booby was a better player than Rock. No question. Yeah. Oh man. Booby was the man. He was something else to watch. He really was.
I got a good Booby story for you.
Go ahead.
in the annex, we used to practice. We see the broken backboard, right?
Yep.
Because they still have
They kept it. They kept it all those years. They never took the history of the broken backboard. Right.
You get a phenomenon of movie, right? And then, his history, whatever happened to him, happened. So we were playing at Audubon Park, and I may have been like finished my first year of college at Hudson, right? Now, third team All American. I'm like, okay, I got to build on this. So we're playing at Audubon Park, and everybody's saying Booby is going to come play against us. All right, cool. And I heard about the street persona of Booby and what he did on the basketball court and that whatever. Now, granted, he wasn't the same Booby at this particular time. So we were playing.
The demons already had gotten him by that point, right? He was, yeah.
Right, and I'm like, this dude little.
Yeah.
He's real little. So I flash up to the elbow. He bites on it. I goes back door, and Morris Townsend, eat him up, throws me a lob. And Booby tried to track me down, but it was too late, and I dunked on him.
You dunked on Booby?
Yeah, the park goes crazy.
Oh, he would have killed you right then and there,
Right. But listen, now the game is over. I'm walking back home. Now Booby's coming out the liquor store between Bayview and Bidwell.
Right.
Redactus.
Redactus Deli, where I worked. How about that? Yeah.
Now he's coming out, and I'm thinking, like, this dude about to rip my head off. I can't run. So he walked by. I think he might have had a quart of Budweiser or a quart of something in his hand, and he was like, "Hey, young fella, keep doing what you're doing. You got it."
Really? So he gave you a little bit of encouragement.
Yeah. Yep.
Not bad.
That's my only encounter with Booby Richardson ever.
Oh wow! Well, he was an absolute legend, and it's a shame what happened to him because who knows where he could have been. He really was.
Right.
He was one of the top. He's one of the top 10 players I ever saw play in Hudson County, without question. So, all right. Well, we will now take a break and from a word from our sponsor, and we'll be back to talk a little bit about Roy Hairston's college career in 1 second. But first, Stan Sports Center is your local full-service sporting goods vendor and authorized team dealer. They offer quality products and dozens of brands to outfit your team top to bottom. Stan's has been proudly supporting the local community since 1946 and is your one-stop shop for uniforms, equipment, online team stores, and much more. Locations in Hoboken and Saddlebrook and servicing the entire tri-state area. Visit them on the web at stansportsctr.com. That's stansportsctr.com. And check them out on social media for their latest creations. And that horn is not part of anything that's going to be at Stan's, but check them out on social media for their latest creations. The Stan's is located at 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. Telephone number is 201-798-4466. Say hello to my friends down there, Dan and Todd and the boys, Louie, and say hello to all of my friends down at Stan's. And if you mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast, you will get a 10% discount on all of their retail products that are in the store. So all their Giant stuff, their Jet stuff, their Knicks stuff, all of it, 10% off. All you have to do is mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast. You don't even have to mention Roy Hairston's name. Just mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast, and you'll get 10% off on your next sale. That's not a bad deal at all. That's our special sponsor, Stan Sports Center. Thanks to Stans for being a part of the Hudson County Sports Podcast for as long as it has been. Okay, we now go back to Roy Hairston, our special guest, and tell us a little bit about your recruiting when you were still in high school. And how disappointing was it, Pooh, that the reason why you didn't get a big-time scholarship was because you didn't have the grades?
Yeah, it picked up, right? Seton Halls, Georgetowns, and things like that started to come in. And, some Atlantic 10 schools, St. Joe's, as well as Duquesne.
Right.
St. Peter's, obviously, and things like that. And it started to pick up, and then my issue wasn't the grades per se, it was the test score.
Yeah, it was the SAT score, right, which was very tough back then. There was no sliding scale. You had to get 800 on the SAT at least, if and a 3.0 GPA, right?
Yeah, the GPA was pretty good. I was at like a 2.7, 2.8 somewhere.
All right, so that would have been good enough, right?
Right, and then Mr. Rubin made calls, and people started calling. And then the funny thing is that it was getting kind of late, and Steve McClain, who was the coach at Hutchinson at the time, called Mr. Rubin. Mr. Rubin gave him my number, and he said that we want to bring you out to visit. So I go on the visit, and he was like, hey, school starts in about a week. If you like it, stay, we'll ship all your stuff down. And they had a really nice arena, and I'm looking around. The national championship was played there. So I called my mother. My mother, she had 48 hours in the visit. So I called my mother. I was like, Mom, I really, really like it. Students are not here yet, but, I don't want to come back to Jersey and just try to do this all over again.
Okay.
So my mom was like, put the coach on the phone. And I gave him the phone. My mom said, I'm putting my trust in you, that you would take care of my son. And I hope that you live up to that. Mr. Rubin vouched for you and things like that. So I ended up staying. And I was there.
Oh, so you didn't even come home? Didn't even come home?
Come back.
Wow, okay.
And then my mother sent my TV, VCR, and all that kind of stuff down. And then, the students started to come on campus. And then, obviously start summer workouts. And then the season starts. And we have a pretty good, I was freshman of the year, player of the year in the conference my first year.
Right, you exploded at Hutchinson. You were making you were scoring at will, like you averaged like 27 a game. It was crazy, right?
Right. And I had a really good point guard, John Natchez, who's a sophomore.
Okay.
And he ended up being an all-time assist leader. So the next year, I was 13 All-American. We lost in the Region 6 championship in order to go to the national championship. So we lost. And then, I stayed around. I was like, I got to get stronger. I started to understand the game a lot better, right?
All right, so you didn't come home at all during the summertime. You stayed out there?
I came home.
Oh, you came home. Okay.
But I stayed about 2 weeks, right?
Okay.
I stayed about 2 weeks before summer school started. So I stayed. I worked out with an assistant coach, did a lot of shooting and things like that. And then I was like, man, I really have a chance to do something. So then I got a call from the head of junior college or whatever. He's like, well, do you want to go on a trip to Spain, to tour Spain? So I was like, well, shoot, yeah, I'll go. And that was my first experience of leaving the country. So
okay.
We toured Spain, playing against pros. I'm doing really, really well. And then, at that point, I started getting calls from teams. So they're like, hey, man, we want to bring you over. Do you mind when you would come over? I'm thinking, like, nah, I want to finish school or whatever. So then I returned for my sophomore year. And we ended up getting a transfer. His name is Ben Davis, who's a good friend of mine. He was in my class. He was ranked the number 4 player. And number 1 was Glenn Robinson. Number 2 was Chris Webber. Number 3 was Juwan Howard. And number 4 was Ben Davis.
Wow.
He was transferred from Kansas. So we got him. And with the other pieces we had, and we went in that run that we went on my sophomore year, felt like the same run at Snyder, right? We just was blowing people out. It just wasn't fair. Then, we make it to the national tournament. And the national tournament is held at our home gym.
Wow. Okay.
Right? So we couldn't ask for a better situation. We ended up, having a few tough games, but we ended up winning the national championship. And now I'm first team All-American, and I'm junior college player of the year.
Yep.
And the recruitment was through the roof. You know what I mean? I remember sitting across from Rolly Massimino. He was at UNLV at the time.
Okay.
I remember Roy Williams coming in. I remember Rick Pitino, who's at Kentucky. I remember everybody coming in there. It was like crazy. The mail and the phone calls to get at the door because Ben Davis was the first team All-American too.
Okay.
And so then ultimately ended up deciding to go to Purdue, and that's how I ended up. At Purdue. Purdue didn't really recruit me, to be honest with you. They had placed a guy from Indiana, from Fort Wayne, Indiana, named Marcus Luthet.
I remember that name. Yeah.
Right. They placed him at Hutch. So we happened to be playing. They was coming to visit him when he saw me. And then Frank Kendrick started recruiting me real heavy. And Gene Katie would come down, and Bruce Weber would come down, and that's pretty much how I ended up, at Purdue because, I felt as though they was recruiting me the most, and they showed the most interest.
Okay.
So that's why I decided to go. But, Carlissimo was calling, and I was kind of like, in my...
Seton Hall wanted you bad.
Yeah.
Didn't they want you bad? Right?
Yeah, and the thing is that, show a lot of interest in high school, right?
None.
So I was just as good as Roscoe and Roderick and those guys, and now I have to go through here to prove to you guys. So I really didn't really give them enough time.
Okay. See, I didn't know that story, but I knew that Seton Hall was really, really interested in you. Really interested.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, well, okay. Well, I kind of was in my feelings a little bit because they didn't. But looking back, I probably should have gave it a little bit more thought. Because Terry DeHare, I talked to him a lot in the summertime too.
Right.
He used to play in Sacred Heart, and he was telling me how great it was for him and things like that. So, but I just kind of like got them out of my mind and ended up at Purdue. So that's how I ended up there.
Okay. And honestly, Purdue was on the rise because they got the three of you, and at that time, nobody knew how good Big Dog Robinson was going to be. No one knew, right? He wasn't even considered to be one of the top players, but he filled out really well.
Yeah.
And with that body, same type of thing like you and Burgess. It was like you and Glenn Robinson played well together because of inside and outside type thing, right?
Yeah, going there, people were like, in the other schools, they got Glenn Robinson, he's coming. And once I went on my visit to Purdue, he and I talked, and he kind of like told me that he wasn't coming back, right? So, and understanding his circumstance, the way he grew up in Gary, Indiana, and he has a chance to possibly make $100 million.
Yep.
No way that he was going to come back to Purdue for a senior year.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, well I'll go. Even if we.
Oh, so you never played with him?
No.
Oh wow. Okay, I thought you did. Okay, so.
No. So
yeah.
I didn't play with him, but so when I got there, it was Conzo Martin, who's the head coach at Missouri.
Yep.
Brad Miller, who played in the NBA.
Yep.
Brandon Brantley, Porter Rock, Turk Duff, those guys. So the consensus was in the Big Ten that hey, Purdue's not going to be as good because of Glenn Robinson leaving and things like that. Now we win the Big Ten.
You won the Big Ten championship, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we won it my junior year. I led the Big Ten in steals.
Okay.
Around 10 points a game, something like that. Then the following year, we win it again.
Right.
Right. So.
And you won 26 games, something like that, and you were a high seed in the NCAAs, right? Were you a 2 seed or 3, something like that? Yeah. Yeah.
No, we was a 1 seed. My senior year, we was the 1 seed.
Oh, you were number 1 seed. Oh, okay.
Right. And the funny thing with being number 1 seed, you see Virginia lost the first number 1 to lose to number 16.
You came close.
We came close.
Yeah.
Right. Now they ran an ISO play for I can't get his first name, but his last name is McCullough.
Okay.
So they run the ISO.
And what school was that you were playing?
Western Carolina.
Western Carolina. Okay.
So he beats Porter Roberts off the dribble, off the right wing. I'm clearing the baseline, and out of the corner of my eye, I see him about to lay the ball up, and I just jump, block it. Brad Miller gets the rebound, gets fouled, then the free throws, ball game over. Right. That's how close it was.
It was. I remember.
So then, after that, I was faced with a decision to either go overseas and play, and or come back to school and finish my degree. And at the time, I didn't feel comfortable enough. I came this far to not get a degree, so I turned down some overseas deals. So I went back to school and finished my degree requirements. Then I went to go play.
Okay.
Yeah. So I met my wife there. I've been married for 20 years, and we have a daughter who's 13 years old.
Oh wow. Okay.
And, yeah.
All right. So anyway, then was there any thought at all, Pooh, that you might get drafted at that time? Was there any talk?
It was because I worked out.
Didn't you go to one of the combines? Didn't you go to either the one in Portsmouth or did you go to Chicago? Which one did you go to?
I was close to going to Portsmouth.
Okay.
But the day after the draft, 3 teams called. The Milwaukee Bucks called, Indiana Pacers, and Phoenix.
All called to wanted you to come in to training camp.
Right. So,
yeah.
So I went to all 3. I had my best workout with the Bucks. Chris Ford was the coach at the time because in Gene Katie's system, I wasn't allowed to handle the ball, just to be free.
Right.
So when I got to those workouts, Chris Ford was like, "Man, Roy, I didn't know you can handle the basketball and you can pass the ball the way you do." I was like, "Yeah, I didn't really get a chance to display it, but we won. So, it is what it is at that particular point. I was in camp with Ray Allen, and this is probably one of the best compliments I ever got when I got released. I was leaving to catch my plane back, and Ray Allen was coming in. That was just '96. Now this is Ray Allen was here.
Okay.
And he was like, man, I don't know what other management is thinking about, but they got a jewel in you, man. Just keep your head up, keep working. So it didn't work out. Worked out for Phoenix, didn't work out. Then I got opportunities to go overseas. And you got to think, it wasn't a G League, it wasn't a D League, G League like it is now. And I was making decent money going overseas. So
And what country did you go to first? What was it?
First country was France.
Okay.
Yeah, so went to France, played a couple seasons there. Then went to Italy, played a couple seasons in Italy. Then I got a deal to go play in Russia. It was probably, it was probably the hardest job I've ever had.
Okay.
I actually cried, man, before I went, but it was a great opportunity. So played 2 seasons over there. Was MVP of the league, defensive player of the year, led the league in scoring and rebounding once. Then I played in England for Nick Nurse, who was the coach of the Toronto Raptors.
Yes, good guy.
So I played for him over in England.
Right. And you did well in England too, right? Did how many years were you in England? 2?
I just played 1 in England.
1 in England. Okay.
We won probably. Matter of fact, we got another podcast to do on the anniversary. They consider our team to be the greatest team ever to play over there.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it was another phenomenal run there, and then started. I went to the Philippines and just different China, different places like that. So I had a great experience with the game, man.
So you played how many years professionally overseas? 13?
About 13.
Wow, that's incredible. That's almost as long as David Rivers, who I thought had one of the longest careers from Jersey City that played overseas. But 13 years is a long time, and bouncing from place to place. Of all the places you played, which was the one was your favorite? Which one did you like the best?
Between England and the Philippines.
Okay. And was it because both places spoke English? So did that help a little bit, the language?
Yeah, that helped. This was the people.
Okay.
And so many times in Europe, I had to like fight for my money. I had to endure different types of things. Like in England, never an issue. Philippines, it was never an issue. And Muhammad Ali is one of my favorite athlete of all time.
Right.
So the good thing about that is that I actually had a chance to actually play in the arena that he fought Joe Frazier in.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah,
the Thrill of Manila. Yeah.
Right. So it just was like an eerie good feeling. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna beat the gorilla in the Thriller in Manila. Right. Yeah.
Right. So they had an outlet ball right next to it. It just was a great place to be. It was far, but the basketball was great. The people were honest and upfront, things like that. So those 2 places was probably the best. And I had a great time in Italy too.
Okay.
Russia probably was the most difficult, but
How did your agent hook you up to go to Russia? Because I've heard nothing but bad stories about people who played in Russia, that they didn't pay for your housing, that you had to pay for the housing yourself, and they didn't pay for transportation, so you had to get around on yourself. So that's what I've heard. Was that the same with you? Yeah. All right. Tell me.
Completely different. You know what I mean? They paid for housing. As a matter of fact, I didn't drive. They gave me a driver.
Okay.
So everywhere I go, I had a driver. So this was the living conditions.
Yeah.
Like my apartment, everything was nice. It just was like the cold. You know what I mean? And things like that. So, and then I played. The coach that I played for was on the team that cheated the United States with
1972, the gold medal.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
He was on that team.
Wow.
And everyone.
So he hated Americans then.
No, he was actually okay.
He was okay with you? All right.
Almost to a point where I was playing really, really well. One of the best players there. They was gonna fire him, and that's it. They ended up firing him. He came to me. He was like, "Roy, myself, save my job. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, whatever y'all do, that's y'all. That don't have anything to do with me.
Yeah.
So they ended up firing him and then ended up getting another coach. And then the following year, I ended up getting a better deal to play for a different team, a better city. So, yeah, but once you get into a country, if you play well, you know, the team will contact your agent to find out who your representation is and things like that. So
Okay.
that's pretty much how it works.
Now, like Raph, like your friend Raph, who bounced around in overseas, he always said that his agent was always looking for deals for him to come back home and play in the NBA. Was there any a chance at all of you coming back home, or were you strictly going to be a European player?
Well, I didn't get too many opportunities like that, like Rav. Now Rav had he was player of the year in the East.
Yep.
All those type of things and things like that. And actually was drafted in the NBA by Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
So,
second round. Yep.
So yeah, so he had a different opportunity than I did. I probably could have pushed forward more, but I was like, well, I'm making decent money, decent living, and things like that. So I never really didn't say when he gave up on it. When it just became more and more difficult, the more and more years that I played in Europe. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And some of those guys I played against, I know Ginobili, played against him in Italy.
Oh wow! All right.
I felt as though I belonged in the NBA because I remember playing against a particular player, played in Maryland. I can't think of his name, and I should just dominate him in games, and he gets cut. He gets cut in Italy. 2 weeks later, he's playing for the Washington Wizards.
Oh wow!
Right. So a lot of those guys that came overseas that I played against in Europe, I felt as though I was good enough to play Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Yep.
Played against him over there. Wonderful guy. Had a chance to talk to him about his trials and tribulations. Man, he was very open and talking about it and sharing some of those experiences with me. A lot of guys that came over there that I played against. And when I went to Italy, it was David Rivers is a legend over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's a legend. You know what I mean? And everywhere I go, and the funny thing is, they find out you're from Jersey. The first thing they want to ask you, you go to St. Anthony's, Anthony?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I didn't. You know what I mean?
Did you know? Do you know David Rivers? Yeah, no, that type of thing.
I knew. I was younger than him. I knew of him. So I say,
right.
I know him. I was born his brother's age, Jermaine.
Yeah.
God bless his soul.
God bless him. Yeah.
But from that, but David. In fact, I remember him coming to Audubon Park with his Lakers gear on playing.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
Playing in his Laker gear. Oh, that's.
Playing in his Laker gear, Audubon Park.
Wow.
Yeah, and
All right, so where was it where you met your wife? What country?
Purdue.
Oh, you met your wife in Purdue. Oh, okay. All right.
Yep, met her at Purdue.
So did she travel with you all over the country, all over the world? Or did she stay here?
Once I was able to get established, yes, she did.
Wow. Good.
She was a teacher for many years, and then once I got established, then she came and with me at various stops.
Okay. All right. So how old were you when you realized that maybe I got to stop doing this?
Well, I was my daughter's 12, girls, I was 13, so 34. I was about 30, 33, 34.
Okay.
And I felt I had enough in me to play a couple years. And but I just felt that it was time. Got time to traveling, all that kind of stuff, just being away. And 9/11 sort of like put things into perspective.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I was in Italy when that happened. You know what I mean? So that kind of put things into perspective. And I just had enough of, I just wanted to come back and just relax a little bit, not have to be on the time clock of, okay, you got about 30 days left in the United States. You know what I'm saying? So I probably could have done it for another 3 years or so.
Okay.
I didn't have any major injuries and anything like that.
Thank God, huh? Play 13 years and not get a major injury? That's pretty good.
Yeah, so I could have done it for a couple more years if I chose to. You know what I mean? But I just felt that it was time, and I just wanted to venture off and do something else.
Okay, so then you came back home and you moved right away to Indiana?
Yeah, I had been living here and just visiting in Jersey. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then once it was over, just stayed here. And actually, right afterwards, I took a couple years off trying to figure out what it is I wanted to do. Got into real estate a little bit, didn't really like that. Started working with kids and just different things like that. And then the company I was working in real estate for, I had a son who was getting cut, wasn't getting opportunities to actually display his talents on the AAU circuit. So we created an AAU team.
Okay.
I didn't want any of the better kids. I wanted kids who were cut or who was just looking for an opportunity to play that was going to play hard. And we actually competed really, really well, won a few tournaments. And then, I got the buzz from coaching, and then, and that's how, that got into that. Coaching a couple high schools here.
All right. So how many years have you been coaching?
I've been coaching for about 7 to 10 years right now.
Okay. And are you the head coach now?
No. The thing is that we both interviewed for the job, and he has a son. The guy that got the job has a son. He's probably going to be, matter of fact, he's about to commit to a Power 5 school. And his schools are Purdue, Indiana, Louisville, and Xavier. And, one of the things is that, the AD wanted was to have a big splash as a hire. So the guy who got the job brought his son over.
Oh, okay.
So then he called me the next day, asked me if I wanted to help out. And I was like, yeah. And that got me a pretty good deal. I teach in the school system.
Oh, you do? Okay, good. All right.
Teach a business class. So to do that, and I just help out over there. But, I clearly have some experience. I coached with Nick Nurse in the D-League in 2011, right? And we won a championship, the D-League championship in 2011. Coached at Park Tudor High School. Coached at the University of Indianapolis, which is a Division II.
Yep.
Coached at IUPUI.
Okay.
University, and coached there for 2 years. And I coached at an NAIA school, Marion, here in Indianapolis as well. So, I've been, just been around a little bit. And, this is perfect. Don't have to travel much with so corona thing. The pay is great. I'm home every night. So, it's one of those deals where it fits. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I'll put some feelers back out there for some college jobs probably next year. This whole corona thing clears up. So,
okay.
Let's see.
And what's the name of the school you're at?
Warren Central High School.
Warren Central, and it's located right in Indianapolis.
Yeah, right in Indianapolis, on the east side of Indianapolis. I would love to come back at St. Peter's or somewhere like that. That would be great.
Okay. Well, I'll put the word out to Shaheen Holloway and tell him that you're interested in coming back home. How's that?
Yeah, definitely appreciate it, man.
Yeah. All right.
I'd love to come back.
All right. So all in all, when you think back about your career, Roy, you got to say, boy, I had a pretty good run considering the fact that at one time you were just a kid without a father, bouncing back from Virginia to Jersey City, and look where it ended up now. You're established. You're a dad of your own. You said you got a daughter that's how old? 13.
Yep, 13.
All right. Is she a player?
Yeah, she's a softball player.
Okay.
She's actually a pitcher.
Oh, is she pretty good?
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Is she going to end up going to the high school where you're at?
No, she'll probably end up going to another high school. She want to go where her friends are.
Okay.
So that's fine. And we taking softball lessons and things like that. She want to go to Oregon, so we're gonna try to nurture that for her. Same thing my mom did with me, man. I just can't. Thank my mom enough, man. Raising 2 boys in the inner city like that.
Sure. By yourself? Yeah.
And, like athletes say, Charles Barkley said they're not role models. And I kind of took that, you're not, right? Because my role model was my mother.
Okay.
And, she's.
And is she still with us, or is she gone?
Yeah, she's still here. She's from Jersey City.
Oh, man. Let's give a shout out to her. What's your mother's first name? Shirley.
That's my buddy there.
Okay.
Yeah.
She Hairston too? She's Shirley Hairston? Okay.
We text every day. If I miss a few hours, she'll text me, baby boy.
Okay.
That text message back, so
Does she still call you Pooh?
Yeah.
There you go.
That Roy stuff out the business.
Right, yeah. You're always going to be a Pooh in your mom's eyes, right? All right, so looking back at it all, your entire life is based around basketball, and how fortunate are you to be able to come from the inner city and get a chance to reach really great heights? Got to play in the NCAA tournament. You got to play in the Big Ten, one of the best conferences in the country, and you've made a career out of basketball and traveled the globe. So you got to feel pretty fortunate what you're able to do with your life with basketball, no?
Man, I've been fortunate, man. And everywhere that I went, man, I just wanted to be known. Tried to rep Jersey City to the fullest, man. You know, that's always home to me. And everywhere I went, it was Snyder, Jersey City. A lot of shout out to St. Anthony's for what they've done. But, we have our own piece of legacy in, Hudson County, man. I'm just thankful that people still remember us. And I'm thankful for the support that we had, through that run from everybody, man. I just think that we brought a lot of people together, man. I just thought that we brought that school spirit back. And like I said, I think in those few years, I think the attendance in Snyder probably went up.
Without question. And it was right around the same time when Rocky 3 came out. And the song "The Eye of the Tiger," and that was booming everywhere you went. Was the eye? Everybody's the eye of the tiger, and they carried it all the way down to Rutgers and playing in the TSC. That was just a great run, great rate.
Yep. So I just thanks everybody that was a part of it. Enjoyed it, made a lot of people proud, man. You know what I'm saying? So it was a great run. I'm thankful for my teammates, man. Just everybody involved. We see each other. We still go down memory lane, man. We have a beer, a drink, and we go right down memory lane.
Yeah. So, well, it's not a bad thing to do. Not a bad thing to do at all. So no.
No doubt.
So, well, Pooh, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. You were always one of my favorite players to cover. So, and I got to watch a lot of your games in high school. And I wish you the best, and I hope I could see you again soon. But stay safe and do well with your team this year, and hopefully we'll continue to hear great things about our friend Roy Pooh Hairston. So, Pooh,
for sure, man.
Thank you so very much. All right, we're gonna put the word out to him. No question. So, all right, Pooh, great talking to you. Thanks so very much. All right, talk to you soon. Take care. And that was my guest, Roy Pooh Hairston, from Snyder High School and then on to Purdue University and a great 13-year pro career overseas. And he's now coaching at Warren Central High School in Indianapolis. Just again as a reminder, Stan Sports Center is your local full-service sporting goods vendor and authorized team dealer. They offer quality products and dozens of brands to outfit your team top to bottom. Stans has proudly been supporting the local community since 1946 and is your one-stop shop for uniforms, equipment, online team stores, and much more. Locations in Hoboken and Saddlebrook and servicing the entire tri-state area. Visit them on the web at stansportsctr.com. That's stansportsctr.com. And check them out on social media for their latest creations. That's Stan Sports Center located at 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. Telephone number is 201-798-4466. And remember, if you mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast when you go into Stan's, that's all you have to do is mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast, and you're going to get a 10% discount on anything that's in the store. So that's not a bad deal at all. Say hello to my friends, Danny and Louie and Todd. Great people down at Stan's. They take care of a lot of our, especially a lot of our local teams. I also like to give a nice shout out to my executive producer, my great nephew Danny Haig. Johnny, I'm sorry. Danny's the other one. Danny's the one that's in the military. My executive producer Johnny Haig, who without him there'd be no such thing as the Hudson County Sports Podcast. He's the one who hooked me up. All right. Anyway, thanks so very much for listening to this edition of the Hudson County Sports Podcast. I'm your host Jim Haig, and I look forward to having another guest sometime next week. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.